The FNaF World Nuzlocke is generally considered to be one of the hardest challenges you can attempt, where every time a character dies in a fight, they are permanently banned from your party. And on top of that, the move gift boxes is completely banned, a move that revives your entire team after they've been knocked out. But I wanted to see just how far I could push this. Throughout the game, there are chips and bytes that you can collect that provide buffs. Chips usually provide a simple damage boost or upgrade, whereas bytes have different abilities like massive damage or healing. And they're both usually essential to standard playthroughs, let alone Nuzlocks. So what if we took all that away? Is it possible to beat a FNaF World hard mode Nuzlocke without any chips or bytes? The run starts off fairly simple in Fazbear Hills, but there are a couple things that we have to do differently. For instance, we can't get the 3 bytes at the start of the game that help you get past the first few bosses. Instead, we're forced to grind for levels so that we can tank enough hits. Luckily, levels are fairly easy to get at the start of the game, and you can over level fairly easily to make this part of the game easy. We could also run into our first important encounter, JJ. Oh my god, we got one! It's JJ! Oh, it's JJ! JJ has the move Unscrew, which has a 30% chance to insta-kill, which would be essential if we ever get an unlucky enemy encounter. Even though we had access to the first 3 areas, and we could over-level, this still wasn't enough to get us through our first boss. Luckily, there was something useful we could do. For the first time in any FNaF World playthrough ever, Mendo is useful. Mendo is one of the most forgotten about shops in FNaF World. He sells armor at 3 different tiers, each giving a different level of resistance: 10, 20, and 100, with the titanium being the absolute best. Now, the information online is pretty sketchy and I couldn't find a straightforward answer, but as far as I know, the defense stat will take any amount of damage and take away that amount from its total. So if you get hit for a 200 damage attack and you had the 100 defense, it would take away 100 from that damage and you would go down to 100. So since 250 coins wasn't that hard to get, I quickly bought the first upgrade. The next step was to face off against one of the mini bosses, Chipper. Since I'd already over leveled by quite a bit and we were able to just spam healing, we were able to complete this fight without any losses. And it also happened to give us a decent amount of XP. So if we just repeated this process by doing each of the Chipper bosses over and over, we could over level fairly easily. The next area we unlock is Dusting Fields, with our first major boss, Bouncer. Bouncer was someone we had to be very careful when facing up against. He had a very powerful move called Snowball, allowing him to bring our entire team down to 1 hit. What we needed was a way for the enemies to do a lot less damage. There are 3 different things you can do in the game that bring enemy damage down. Unfortunately, Shield was out for now because there were no characters that could use Shield until late in the game. Armor Song was also a late game move, so we couldn't use that. This left us with Birthday and Gloom Song. Birthday was used by 2 characters in the game, who just happened to be on our team, Freddy and Toy Chica. Birthday would raise all of our stats temporarily, including defense. Gloom Song lowered the enemy's attack, and the only 2 characters that had that were Phantom Freddy and Phantom Balloon Boy. Luckily, both of these characters can be unlocked in the first 2 areas. Funnily enough, Phantom Freddy is actually my favorite animatronic in this game, so while I was over leveling, I just so happened to encounter Phantom Freddy, and after unscrewing him with JJ, we had our first debuffer. My plan was when we got to Bouncer, we would just spam Gloom Song and Birthday, and when we got to Bouncer, we'd take 4 times less damage, which meant that we should be able to defeat him fairly easily. Also, while grinding, I happened to encounter Phantom Chica, another useful character who would want to unlock. Oh, that's okay. He's targeting Foxy. I just switched to Mangle on team 2. Even though we managed to get Phantom Chica just seconds later, Phantom Freddy was the first of our characters to be eliminated from the Nuzlocke. And this really hurt because we definitely need debuffers later in the run. Just 5 encounters later, we managed to run into Balloon Boy, and he luckily did the exact same thing as Phantom Freddy. And after just a little bit more over leveling, I decided it was time to head into the fight. As soon as the fight started, we were able to heal immediately, meaning that we could survive the first hit. Then we get a Birthday and a Gloom Balloon off, which would make us take a lot less damage. And the reduced damage we now take is actually quite ridiculous. This is the amount of damage that we take when Snowball attacked Foxy. Now if we compare it to Freddy's health after his attack with Birthday and Gloom Song enabled, he takes barely anything. This strategy is ridiculously overpowered. And whenever Bouncer used his Snowball attack, we'd switch to team 2 so that they would take the hit, then we switch back before Bouncer could get a main attack off. And if we repeatedly chain this, then the fight is actually quite easy. And we were able to clear one of the riskiest fights in the game without any characters lost. Now we we were able to head into the next two areas, the first being Lily Gear Lake, then taking this shortcut we can immediately go to Black Tomb Yard. This is when we'd start encountering enemies with the move Gloom, which would take our birthday buff and completely remove it, effectively leaving us to take double damage again. There was also a secret mini boss that had a chance to appear in Lily Gear Lake, and since Bouncer was still a challenge, we definitely didn't want to encounter him. We also ran into Wither Chica, who was another healer for our team. Then, just before we head into Black Tomb Yard, we'd grab this chest and... what? Why? Why are you like this? Immediately, we were able to get off a birthday and a gloom balloon, which allowed us to survive the first few hits. Luckily, Seagoon only has the move Water Hose, which its only ability is to insta-kill a teammate when they're below 15% health. So as long as we kept the debuffs on and kept healing passively, we were able to survive these hits. Okay. We're doing a decent amount of damage for what it is to be. Okay, that's fine. We're actually able to out-heal him. I think we're fine here. And then as long as we don't get below 30% health, we can't die, right? So, okay, that was a mini-boss. That was way easier than Bouncer. Okay. Somehow, we managed to clear the fight without any character losses. We had already spent 3 hours just getting to Lily Gear Lake at this point, and if you know anything about FNaF World, that is way too long just to be at the 4th area. The problem was we couldn't really do that much at Black Tomb Yard since enemies could do half of our health instantly. Now, I tried spending another 30 minutes grinding for levels, but this just wasn't working, and I started losing party members in dumb ways. This was a big problem. We already had 2 little unscrew characters to brute force our way through this area, and not enough healers and debuffers to survive. We couldn't grind for characters since enemies had a chance to just be way too strong for us to take on, so I decided to cut my losses and go straight onto this area's boss, Browboy. The problem was with how many characters we were losing. By the time we go through the cave connected to Black Tomb Yard and then into the tombstone which leads to Pinwheel Circus, we only had 7 characters left alive. And on my way to the boss fight, I encountered several different enemies, most of which I could just unscrew to get rid of, but then just before I entered the boss fight, I encountered these devilish creatures. I'm convinced that these 3 came up from hell itself just to destroy my run. These hellish creatures are the bane of my existence. So as soon as I got into the fight, Chica was immediately taken out, our main healer. Shortly after, both Balloon Boys followed, and even though we managed to unscrew all of them, we were left with just 3 characters. Nowhere near enough to defeat Browboy, and just 1 fight later... oh man. Oh, this is the first one. Here's 2. And here's 3. The run was already over. After 5 hours of work, we weren't even halfway through the game. We hadn't even made it past the Browboy fight. This was... look, clearly the video isn't even halfway, so obviously there's something else we can do. To be honest, the run could be optimized a lot more. First of all, we wanted to keep Phantom Freddy alive for a lot longer, and there was another main thing that I'd been considering for a while. It doesn't have to be a Nuzlocke. Let me clarify on that one really quick. And I know the entire premise of the video is a Nuzlocke with an added challenge, but trust me when I say this, the challenge is enough. I tried an entire different run the next day and I got absolutely decimated. I genuinely got so depressed after failing this run, I started recording the Foxy only challenge, which is the most requested challenge on my channel. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna leave you all hanging until I'm out of money. But eventually, I made the decision to not do a Nuzlocke and I loaded up a new save, ready for what comes next. Now that we didn't have to worry of a Nuzlocke, the first thing that we could do is speedrun the entire start of the game. We could quickly get rid of enemies without worrying about them dying, and then we immediately encountered Phantom Freddy. Straight into Dusting Fields, Bouncer we already know was beatable, and it didn't take that many tries. Sad thing is, in those 20 minutes I was already pretty much caught up to where I died last time. And the only thing we really had to worry about in this run was running into enemies that we couldn't kill, like this lovely specimen. There are a few characters that we could get, however, that would make this easier. First of all, in Black Tomb Yard, we were able to run into Paper Pals, who had some very useful moves. And after a quick unscrew, we had them. You see, Paper Pals has 3 main moves: Mystery Box 2, Mimic Ball, and Prize Ball 2. The only one that really matters is Mimic Ball, which summons a little ball man down the bottom. Say hi, little ball man. The other 3 important characters that we needed were all the Endos. Across all of them, they were the only characters with access to Neon Wall and Endo Army. I'll explain what Endo Army does later, but Neon Wall is pretty much the shield chip that we aren't able to get. So I set to grinding for a bit as in the next 2 hours. There was one way I kept myself entertained, however. This is the move Mystery Box 2. It exchanges your entire team for a completely random set of characters. Are you telling me I can gamble in this game? I will admit there were a couple of times where I probably shouldn't have done this, and we ended up dying because of it, but I'm counting my crippling gambling addiction as a win. We were able to encounter Plush Trap, one of the highest damage dealers in the game, and finally after all this time, we were able to get Endo 01. And due to the randomizer, we ended up killing him with Moldy Pizza and Springlock suits, a trademark of the Fazbear Pizza Enterprise. Now we'd gotten Endo 1. He's what we could use to finally take down Browboy, and heading into the boss fight, we can use him to immediately put Endo Army, which would make this fight a lot easier. The problem was Browboy could instantly kill us, but after a couple more tries and him finally not getting killed instantly, we were able to get an Endo Army off. Okay, decent.
Ooh. If we can chew through his health before we die, we should be able to clear this.
We need our endos to crit. Please crit. Okay. Maybe that might be enough. Please. Ooh, another crit. Please, come on, we're so close. One more crit. One more crit. One more crit. One more. Yep. That's how much health he had. You know, I love this game. It's a fun game. We didn't even lose half of our characters that time. Why was that so much easier? And we can move straight on to Pinwheel Funhouse, which is so nice to look at with your eyes. This is where we do the majority of grinding for characters. Since we didn't have the Find Characters chip, the normally guaranteed character after every fight was now a lot rarer. We definitely need at least one other Endo which had the move Neon Wall for us to be able to take on the next boss. So I settled in for a lovely another 1.5 hours of grinding. We even managed to encounter Nightmare Fredbear, who was actually decently rare in this area. Like I mentioned in my previous video, DJ Sturf has made a chart of all the rarities of the characters in different areas, and in somewhere like Pinwheel Funhouse, all previous characters are pretty easy, whereas characters like Fredbear and Springbonnie are the rarest. Even though these two are very useful, since they were already rare with the Find Characters chip, it wasn't worth going for them. Luckily, we were just going for one of the two Endos, much easier to encounter.
What? 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 No. Huh?
After getting Fredbear, we could take on the boss, Bubba. Now, Bubba had some very scary stats. Not only having 30,000 HP, he also had the move Jump Scare, which would stun our entire team, forcing us to switch out. Usually, you'd use the block Jump Scare chip in this fight, but it's probably a little obvious why we can't do that. Luckily, we were able to encounter Endo 2, who is going to be really useful. And as soon as we get in, we gotta move quickly. First of all, we've got to instantly Neon Wall. Then we switch to Team 2, get a little ball man out, then get an Endo Army. This is the entire of our setup. As soon as he jump scares us, we just switch to the other team and continue attacking that way. And we just keep depleting his health until we can win this fight. And after a good 15 minutes... Okay, come on. We're close. Come on. Come on. Okay. No, please don't let this be the same thing again. So close, please. Please. Not again. No. Ah! Well, what is it? We get absolutely destroyed by the boss, and then we defeat them without losing any characters. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. Now we head straight into the glitched object, go through the maze of whatever this is, then we can head on to Pork Patch. Pork Patch only has 20,000 health, but he has a higher attack stat. Plus he has the move Toxic Bite, which does damage over time. Luckily he is sort of a similar strat to Bubba, and we just need the same setup and hopefully we get through it. Luckily Little Ball Man helps us do double damage, and even though we were starting to lose characters, we were still getting away through the fight. Please, 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 please. Don't, not again. Not 3 times in a row. Please. No, what? What? After once again dying at the very end, we proceeded to do this fight over and over for 45 minutes. And we didn't make any more progress. Eventually, it got so bad that I resorted to getting the gift boxes moved. Since we're no longer doing a Nuzlocke, we can finally use these. Gift boxes revives your entire team. And there are 3 characters that we can get that have this. Either Shadow Bonnie, Funtime Foxy, or a miserable child who's just sad and miserable. And after just a little bit of grinding, it's a sad child. We were also able to encounter Ender Plush and pretty much just shot him in the face. And we could head straight back into Pork Patch with our new team, making sure that Neon Wool and Endo Army. Then just after a little bit of time, the fight is a complete pushover. We get the key and we can move on to the next stage. Before we make it to the final part of the game, we just need to face 3 more bosses. And if you're wondering if we've seen these characters before, they're just complete reskins of the old characters. This is Snowcone, this is Bouncer. They look exactly the same, but don't be fooled, for these are not the same picture. Snowcone has a slightly different moveset, but with the miserable child on our team, he ends up being pretty easy and he's not even worth mentioning. Next we move on to Supergoon, and I'll let the clip do all the explaining. Luckily, with gift boxes, we're able to get pretty far into this fight, and it shouldn't be too difficult as long as we keep our main characters alive. And it surely wouldn't be a repeat of last time. I have no idea what this curse was, but we'd get so close just to lose on all of these bosses. Since we were having so much trouble, the only thing I realized we could do is cut to another chapter segment. Yeah, I changed the chapter style midway. I'm not fixing the one at the start. I can't be bothered. The problem was that the bosses were starting to do too much damage that we could gift box through, instantly killing us no matter what. Supercoon was just a case of a lot of persistence, and we eventually got him, but I did happen to cut out the 1.5 hours of grinding that it took to beat this boss. Then we can move on to Overclock, the next boss, who is a similar situation, where we just mainly use gift boxes and hope that we can beat him. And after sitting through this 15-minute long fight, he's a lot easier than Supercoon, and we were able to clear the fight fairly easily. There was only 2 bosses left to defeat. Before we could get to the final boss, we had to beat Security. Security had a scary 100,000 HP and a 2,000 to 4,000 damage. He also has the move Alarm, and he can just clear an entire team instantly. Luckily, he's pretty easy to cheese. The main strategy involves using the Endos and their move Neon Wall. You see, Neon Wall completely blocks the Alarm attack, making it do 0 damage. But how are we gonna beat the 4,000 attack damage? Luckily, when Security gets hit with the move Haunting, he'll get frozen in place and be forced into not being able to attack us. Okay. It's go time. Whew. Bam. Oh! Okay. Okay. Ooh, okay. We got this. Okay. We're so close. We're so close. Not again. Not again. Come on. 3 characters left. Like he's... please look right there. 1 crit. Please. Please. Come on. Yes. 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 No. Eventually, we were able to beat Security. He wasn't that hard, but that last fight was just complete rubbish. Now Security was out of the way, all we had left to fight was Scott. Scott was very similar to Security, same amount of health, same instantly kill attack, and same alarm. The only difference is he had a move Fourth Wall, which just eliminates your entire team, and there wasn't really a lot that we could do against it. Our only hope was that we would be able to gift box fast enough that we could survive the hits. With his Fourth Wall attack destroying our entire team, there wasn't anything we could do. Oh wait, this game is free! As I explained earlier in the video, Unscrew is an attack that has a 30% chance to insta-kill, and this also happens to work on bosses at just a much lower rate of around 1 to 2%. So with enough grinding, we should be able to beat this. Make no mistake though, this would take a lot of time. We'd have to do this fight over and over again until we managed to hit the Unscrew. Oh, what? What? Oh! And just like that, we managed to beat the entirety of FNaF World Hard Mode without any chips or bytes. Thank you so much for watching. Do the subscribe, do that thing, yeah, yeah.